Okay, I've made a couple adjustments to the carburetor and the brakes. I've bled the brakes too, as I spoke of doing, and also a little more fine-tune adjusting. And I'm going to take it for a little drive now. See how it does. So turn it on, turn the fuel on, press the button, make sure I'm retarded there, and pull my gas on a little bit there, and push the button. Now we'll just back out of the shop then. I just took it for a little drive to test it. I came back and got my camera. I need to advance the timing a little more here. Missed second gear. It's running good now. It's running better than ever before. I'm real happy with that. I better make sure my door's closed. I'm driving with one hand again. And the brakes really work well now. There's no need to pump them or anything. You step on them and it stops. Boom. I really like that. Let me set this a little bit here. I probably still need to adjust the idle just a little bit on the carburetor. But it has, I like its power. It's got good power. I'd love to keep working on this car, but I'm at the limit of what the customer wanted to spend on it. He had a certain amount of spend. I'm in third gear. I need to shift second. He had a certain amount of money he wanted to spend, and then he was going to give it to his grandkids, which I think is a pretty neat thing. And so I got it running good. I know I could get it running better, but that's how I am. I always want to try to get something running better. But anyway, the brakes work really well. It runs good. It needs a few things. I'll go over those things later. But we got it as far as we can with what we were allotted, and I'm happy with that. So I'm in reverse. Let me see about turning this jet out just a little ways. See what that does for us. I don't have my reading glasses on. Usually when I work I have them on. I can't see to get the... There we go. That's another half turn out. That might be a little too rich, I fear. I'll go about a half turn in, then another half turn in. I think right there is about right. I think we'll call that good. So I'll have to leave it at that. That's I know I'm out of time for working on this car. But the brakes work really well, and the engine runs pretty good. And like I said, there's a little list of things that need to be done on the next stint of work that's spent on this. But we got a couple of major things done, so we can feel good about that. few things I want to cover on this so that the next person that works on it, whether it's me or someone else, knows where we stopped at and what's next and needs to be done on the car. The front end needs rebuilt. The gearbox and all the parts are available. The gearbox needs to be rebuilt, and the kingpins need new bushings, and the front end, all the ball joint type joints in the front end need rebuilt. Then on the water pump here, I put a new bushing in, or not a bushing, the new packing in here, and that cured the leak. But the water pump shaft has thrust play, which means it goes in and out as it turns around and round. It's not supposed to, and I learned from a guy that knows a lot about these that putting a new water pump on won't cure that, because the thrust play comes from wear in the block and not in the water pump. So a lot of guys put collars on these. It's a little collar you put on, and it's available for sale, and it's inexpensive, and it stops that in and out movement. Now the surface that the packing goes on is in plenty good shape and looks like it should prevent it from leaking. But what happens is as it goes in and out, it reams that and it starts to leak, which is what it's done now. So it doesn't leak as bad like it did when it came in, but it's leaking again. So a collar would probably repair the leak, and that would be done next. And there is a packing. With the packing materials, we got enough to take that off and put some more packing in there if necessary. So that's a deal that needs to be done there. And then back here on the rear axle, it needs lots of new seals, like in the rear of the transmission, and the 3 axle seals on this side, the other side, and in the front. But the axle takes a shim. You can't really tell because this is the one that came off and it's all chewed up. But it has a shim that goes on there. It's like a thin cone-shaped shim that goes on the end of the axle spindle, and it sets this brake drum out away from the backing plate so it doesn't rub the backing plate. And to compensate for that, I've left this nut loose, a little bit loose, not a lot loose, but a little loose. But what needs to be done is shims need to be put in, 1 on that side. You can go up to 2, and 2 on this side to hold this away from that backing plate. And then these nuts can be turned in so that the bearing is properly adjusted. Right now I've got it too loose for, you could drive it around the block, but any kind of, that's something that needs to be done before much driving is done. Let me put it that way. So there we have that. So basically rebuilding the front end, putting a collar on the water pump, and putting the shims on the axles, which that's not a big deal doing that on the rear, putting those little shims in. The collar on the water pump shouldn't be such a big deal. Rebuilding the front end is a bigger job, and the steering box, as I said, needs to be rebuilt also. So those are the things I can think of that need to be done. I was going to put the wind wings. He has wind wings on, but I noticed I'd have to cut some rubber gaskets for one of them, and I'm out of time on this. So and also there's some nice looking side curtains that go on here. I don't know if I have all the snaps for them, but I'm not going to put those on either because I don't want them to blow off in the wind if the thing's going to be trailered a couple-hour drive at speeds that are quite faster than this car was designed to go. So anyhow, I'm always kind of like, oh, I want to work on it more, but we've got it to a good stopping point, I would say, for what we're doing, and then the folks that are going to take it over from here, they can do as they will on it. So there we have it. I'm happy to have worked on it and got it going and got the engine running and the brakes working, and kind of gave a report on what needs to be done next. I made one last little adjustment to the carburetor, and it's cold right now, but it's always started well cold. So I'll push the button, and we'll see how that affects the way it runs. All I did was set the idle stop. I may have set it a little too high. We'll see once it warms up. I may have it too high.